Okay, ready to swap those comfy clothes for some imaginary ballet shoes? We're diving headfirst into the world of ballet. It's this amazing blend of athleticism and art.
Absolutely. Every single move, from a simple step to those incredible leaps, it's all about telling a story without saying a single word.
And we've got a stack of fascinating stuff to guide us. I'm really excited to dig into Ballet Illustrated. It seems like the perfect way to break down this art form, wouldn't you say?
Totally. It's a really good intro. And you know what I find interesting? It really stresses how important the terminology is right from the beginning. It's like the book is saying, listen, if you want to get ballet, you got to learn the lingo.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like going to another country and trying to understand a conversation. Knowing a few key phrases makes all the difference. So if these terms are like the ballet dictionary, then those five basic positions, that's like building up your vocabulary, right? I feel like the book really brings them to life. What stands out to you about how they describe, say, first position?
Well, you know how they always talk about, like, imagine holding a giant beach ball to get those rounded arms?
Right.
I always thought that was kind of cheesy, but
Well,
honestly, it works.
yeah.
It's such a simple image, but you instantly feel that open, graceful shape.
Okay, I'm trying it right now, and I can already feel my posture getting better. It's amazing how such small adjustments can make a difference. And it makes you realize every single detail in ballet has a purpose. It's not just about looking pretty, it's about creating this strong foundation for everything else.
Exactly. Imagine building a house without a solid foundation. It'd be a disaster. Those positions, they're the foundation, and you can feel that stability when you hold them correctly. It's pretty cool. Then as you move through the other positions, like second, third, fourth, fifth, you're building on that, challenging your balance, creating these long, elegant lines.
It's like each position is a stepping stone, leading you towards more complex stuff. And speaking of stepping, the book introduces a few basic movements: plie, releve, and tendu. Did I say those right? Be honest.
You're doing great. And honestly, don't worry too much about the pronunciation. Even experienced dancers are always fine-tuning their French. The important thing is understanding what these movements do and why they're so important.
Okay, so break it down for us. Let's start with plie. It sounds a lot like apply, and in a way, it is like you're applying force with your legs.
Right. Basically, it's a graceful bend of the knees. And it might look simple, but a good plie is like the secret to so many ballet moves. It's the engine that powers your jumps, your turns, everything.
So plie is all about that controlled power. What about releve? I feel like dancers talk about that one a lot.
Oh, definitely. Releve is all about that grace and lift. It's simply rising up onto the balls of your feet like you're about to go on tiptoe. Strengthens your ankles, your feet, gives you that beautiful elevated look that's so classic ballet.
Gotcha. And then there's tendu. Is it fair to say that one's all about those long, graceful lines with your legs?
Exactly. Tendu is extending your leg, pointing your foot, creating that longest line possible from your hip all the way to your toes. And it might look simple, but it takes tons of control and precision. Every muscle is working to create that smooth, elegant line.
So even in those basic movements, plie, releve, tendu, you see how ballet combines strength, control, and artistry. It's pretty fascinating.
It really is. And what's amazing is that these are just the basics. Once you master these, the possibilities are endless.
Okay, so we've got our plies down, we're feeling that releve, but what about the really exciting stuff? The leaps and the turns, those moments that make you gasp. What takes us from these basic moves to that?
It's all building blocks, right? You've got the foundation, and now it's like putting up the walls.
And some of those walls involve defying gravity.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, the book gets into some of those iconic ballet steps and turns, like the jeté. It literally means throw, which sounds so powerful.
It is powerful. The jeté is all about this illusion that you're just soaring through the air. Imagine one leg gracefully extended forward and the other one pushes off, propelling you upwards.
Okay, yeah, so it's a leap.
Yeah, a graceful leap into the unknown.
Reading the definition, I was picturing something a little more aggressive, but like you said, it's controlled power and grace, just like we were talking about with the positions.
Exactly. And it's interesting to think about how those basic movements that we talked about, plie, releve, they all play a part in a perfect jeté. The plie gives you that burst of energy. The releve gives you lift. It's all connected.
It's like a chain reaction of technique and artistry.
What about turns? The book mentions the pas de bourrée, which I have to admit I mostly know from memes. Ah, yes, the step of the drunkard. It's a name that gets people every time. But in reality, the pas de bourrée is about these quick little steps that make it look like you're just gliding effortlessly across the floor.
So less about stumbling, more about smooth transitions, kind of like a secret weapon for choreography.
Yes, precisely. And then, of course, there's the chassé, which basically just means chased. It's a gliding step where one foot kind of gracefully chases after the other.
I get why they call it chased.
It builds momentum, and often it's used as a setup into a bigger jump or turn.
And speaking of turns, what about those graceful spins, like the pirouette?
Ugh, the pirouette, the most quintessential ballet turn. The book does a really good job of explaining how it works. You rise onto one leg, usually from fourth or fifth position, with your other leg bent and supporting at the knee. But the real magic, the secret, if you will, is in the spotting.
Spotting, yeah. I've heard that term, but never really understood what it meant.
It's super interesting. Spotting is when you fix your gaze on a specific point as you turn and you whip your head around to refocus on that same spot as you complete the turn. And it helps to maintain balance and prevent dizziness even when you're doing multiple rotations.
So your body's working overtime to defy physics. It really makes you appreciate the athleticism involved, and it's not even just physical, is it? The book also mentions the role of music, which I hadn't really thought much about before.
Music is essential. It's not just background noise. It's like the heartbeat of the performance. And what's so cool is that this connection between the music and the movement starts way before the curtain even goes up. The book talks about the preparation, that musical intro, before the dancing starts.
So it's like the music is giving the dancers a heads up, setting the tone.
Exactly. And the length and the style of that preparation can be
Hmm.
different depending on how complex the dance is, the emotions, even how the dancers themselves interpret it. It's subtle, but it's so powerful for the storytelling.
It's like this unspoken conversation between the musicians and the dancers. It adds a whole other layer to the performance. And speaking of layers, there's one more thing from this section I wanted to touch on, this idea of extensions and lines.
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting. It goes beyond just the steps and into the artistry. It's fascinating how, for example, extending your leg isn't just about the physical act. It's about creating a visually beautiful line that flows all the way from your fingertips to your toes.
So your body basically becomes a sculpture.
Yes. And this focus on extensions and lines
Hmm.
really highlights how important posture and alignment are in ballet. The book stresses that it's not just about aesthetics, it's about preventing injuries. It's about making sure your body can handle all of the
It's
demands.
like in yoga or martial arts, alignment is key.
Exactly. It's about working with your body, not against it. And that's a lesson that applies to way more than just ballet.
You know, it's amazing to think about all this, the positions, the movements, how important the music is. It makes you realize how much skill and dedication goes into making it look so effortless on stage.
It's true. The more you understand something, the more you can appreciate it.
Right.
But I think what makes ballet really special is that it's not just about being technically good. It's about conveying emotion
Mhm.
through movement, telling a story with your body.
And you can only really get that by seeing a ballet performance, right? The book talks about going beyond just reading about it and actually seeing it live. You must have seen a lot of ballet performances.
Oh, tons. And each one is so unique.
Yeah.
There's an energy you feel, a connection between the dancers and the audience. It's hard to describe. You're seeing these incredible athletes pushing themselves to the limit, but it's more than that.
There's an emotional element.
It's vulnerable, it's
You're
captivating.
living the story, not just dancing it.
Exactly. And that's what makes it more than just a technical skill. It's art in motion. And actually, the book has a really good story about this. It talks about this dancer, Elise, and during a really challenging piece, she can feel the music through the floor, like right through her
Wow.
powerful imagery.
It's like the music is physically guiding her.
It shows you how immersed dancers are in what they're
It's
doing.
a full body experience. It
Totally.
makes you realize ballet is about way more than just steps.
It's discipline,
And
dedication,
push you limits.
finding the beauty in the process.
And the good news is you don't have to be a pro to enjoy it.
Not at all. You can watch it, you can try beginner class, you can just learn more about it. There's something for everyone.
You've definitely given us a lot to think about. From those 5 basic positions to how important the music is and how athletic it is, it's so much more than it seems. You know what? I think I might just take your advice and try to find a class.
I think you should. You might surprise yourself.
And maybe one day you'll see me attempting a graceful jeté on stage. Or, at least a very enthusiastic play.
We'll be cheering you on either way.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of ballet. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, there's always something new to discover.